I don't remember the day, but I remember the conversation. I remember we were having it in the corridor, and I remember exactly how I felt like as you told your friend. Their lineage, their bloodline does not make a difference to your friendship.
I remember feeling that I needed to tell someone this because mine.
I think crushes and adoption, where other peers our age were curious, like, oh, why is she so passionate about adoption? And it wasn't a secret. Neither was it like a you cannot drop a bombshell on me and just leave like that.
Okay, we should start with an intro of ourselves first.
We can go back to that.
Okay, wait. Is it even recording still? Do I have that much storage? Hi guys, I'm Amisha, an Indian adoptee. I recently wrote a book called Pocket Guide for Adopted Kids. It aims at helping adoptees navigate their emotions and identity. But today's video is not just for adoptees. I have my childhood best friend with me, Nitya. I know her since before I could spell the word adoption, and she's been a big part of who I am today. I really believe that a child's immediate environment shapes who they are, and that includes not just parents but also friends. They play a big part in it. Today we're going to talk about what it's like to share something as big as adoption at that age with someone close to you. I have known Nitya since we were 8 years old, 7 years old. I was there at your 8th birthday party, and we became friends
quite instantly, honestly. I mean,
it was a second grade concert.
Yeah, and we were put in the same dance
as oysters. We got eaten up. We had like 2 minutes of screen time.
But 4 hours of practice every day.
That's true. And those 4 hours were just constant yapping. That's how we became friends. And I think, we instantly gelled. Like,
I just remember I didn't like anyone else in that group. I was like, this one, I picked this oyster. I like her.
Yeah, I can't even remember. Okay, now I remember who else was there. But it was like super fun. And I think we just hung out in breaks after that.
We were in the same class only once in our entire schooling lives.
Yes.
Then we thought we would never be in the same city again. We were leaving for college. And then we both ended up in Mumbai.
But this girl is leaving Mumbai right now.
It's okay, I come and go, and I always have a home over here.
That's why I cornered her today on her last day here to make this video. But we became friends in like the second grade, and I found out I was adopted in the 4th grade, right? So the first person I ran to in school and told about this was
me,
Nitya. And I was like, oh my god, do you remember the day?
I don't remember the day, but I remember the conversation. I remember we were having it in the corridor, and I remember exactly how I felt like as you told me.
Yeah, I remember the day completely. I think this was after Nitya told me she had a crush on a guy. And I was like, okay, maybe. I didn't know what that meant, but I was like, oh.
I knew what that meant, but I was like, that one.
Like, okay, she's telling me her secrets. Maybe I can tell her, mine.
I think crushes and adoption. Where?
But I decided okay, I can tell her. And I remember feeling that I needed to tell someone this because yes, having parents in your corner is a very big plus, but you need someone your age and someone with the same brain cells as you to help you even understand something that you don't know yourself, right? So I remember going to Nitya after school. I was like, in the break time, I was like, listen, I have to tell you something. And you're like, what is it? Tell me. And then I told her only like half of it, I think, in the break, and then
clarified after school.
Yeah, school got over and she was standing right outside my class, and I was like, she's like, tell me.
You cannot drop a bombshell on me and just leave like that. So I very distinctly remember being told half the information, and then once it was clarified, it was the end of the day, right? So we couldn't really like talk too much because we had to go home. And I remember going home and telling my mom and just crying, okay? In fact, it took me a very long time to figure out why I cried about it, because it's not like this is a sad story or whatever. I think I was just so overwhelmed by the fact that someone that I thought is literally the best person to be a friend with, someone like gave that up in their lives, and that just made me feel so like, I don't think it made me feel sad, it made me feel so empathetic that as a 9-year-old with half a brain cell that I shared with her, I didn't know how to process. And to add to it, I remember thinking that Ami's life is so cool because like she has like these siblings and like because I had only an elder sibling, but she had like a house full of kids because they were a set of three, and like her nani lived with her and her parents lived with her, and I was like, this is such a cool life. Like I wish I had these many people in my house. And then when you suddenly told me that someone picked her and like placed her here, I was like the stars aligned in her favor. It just made
Aw.
sense to me.
Yeah. It was. I didn't know that this like should gone home and cried till a year later. I was just like, yeah, okay. And I went about my life, but I got to know about this a year later. And I remember talking to you, and you were like much later, and you were like, I thought I was going to be next because Nitya was making all those.
That was my 9-year-old brain.
Yeah.
But
So that was like the funniest thing I'd ever heard. But yeah, at that point, I don't think I knew exactly what adoption meant. And what did you know about adoption at that point?
actually, I knew quite, like I had a fair understanding because one of my first friends that I grew up with was adopted herself, and at the time that she came into like my life, her parents had kind of like told everyone in their vicinity that we're adopting a baby girl. And when they took her in, like they couldn't really like immediately just introduce her to people, right? Because adaptation, like it
Yeah.
takes time to adapt your environments. So I remember being introduced as the first friend to her, and to me I was just like, oh, I have a new person to play with. Like it didn't matter. But and like that was kind of like my entire attitude towards adoption, because like I was introduced to like kids at a pretty young age who were adopted, that I was like, okay, this person is just another person to play with like for me. So I don't think I realized for really long how what a different family dynamic that is from my own, because these kids were just around me. Like obviously, as normal as it is also a very big emotional journey for parents and kids alike, and the rest of the family.
I think that's also why I lucked out with you, because you treated it so normally.
Perhaps.
Like you were like acclimatized to the concept and all of that, and you also told me about your friend.
Yeah.
And I think I met her 1-2 times. We didn't really speak on adoption. Like we were 9 years old, but it made me seem seen and understood in a way. So I was definitely very lucky for that. That's why it is really important to teach your kids, however old they are, about all sorts of concepts, and adoption being one of them. Because you never know when it's helping.
So crazily enough, when like I went and told my mom that Amisha's adopted, my mom thought I was kidding. She really thought I was like pranking her, or like it was just a weird like thing I'm just saying, because Amisha like again lucked out because she looked so much like her family. I think you still do. I mean, that's beside the point. But at that time, because kids say anything. A lot of things that children say make absolutely no sense, but this was something so heavy that my mom literally called her mom and was like, hey, so Amisha mentioned this to Nitya, and I just want to know, like, are you like, is this for real? And I remember Amisha's mom's immediate reaction was, oh my god, did she actually start speaking about it? And her mom was so happy that you were like started talking about it and telling people. And it just, because it starts to normalize it in the child's head, I guess.
True. I mean,
That's step one, I guess.
I'm sure she was happy that I had someone to talk to that I was comfortable with, because I told her on day one. Like, I got to know and I ran and I told Nitya. So, but again, she was the only person that I told for quite a long time. It's not that I haven't had reactions to my adoption that were not the best. Like, some people again didn't believe me. They're like, what, even if they were like really close friends, they're like, how is this possible? Because they didn't have the maturity to, I mean, everyone's in school, but they didn't have the maturity to understand what this was and how to even deal with a friend telling you something like that, even though I may not have said it as like a heavy subject or something like trying to share a secret, but where as a 9-year-old Nitya helped out is that again she made me feel very seen, very comfortable, and oh yeah, cool, yeah, that's not a big deal, yeah, tell me more. So you tell me, I completely felt seen and heard and comfortable, but you tell me what was going through your head when, like, how did it impact our friendship in any way? Like, did you see me differently for even a second.
I don't think I saw you differently, but I think, as I said earlier, like, it just made me feel so intensely, like, because, so when you're making friends, you're technically, adopting them into your lane. So for me, it was like, I've picked this person and I love this person so much, and I cannot imagine life without her. Like, here we are almost 20 years later and we're still doing life together. So this is quite literally someone I just picked off, like,
The
in a
streets.
school full, no, in like a school full of kids, I picked this person, right? So I just could not wrap my head around the fact that someone had to, like, give them up in order to, for me to find them. Like, these was just so many emotions I went through, because Amisha was quite literally my world. There were no boys. There was, yeah, I mean, there was TV, there were other people, but she is my best friend. So it was like, it didn't make any sense to me in my, like, 9-year-old brain that anyone would want to give up this person in their life. But I am glad she came my way, because she's still in my lane so many years later. And, like, as I said, like, it didn't impact my friendship because I guess I already had adopted friends around me. So at max, I think I just felt more grateful to have her come my way than anything else.
What do you think? I mean, yes, definitely it helped that you knew someone who was adopted. But any advice for like kids that age to be more inclusive with their environment, especially around adoption? I mean, there are a lot of things they should be inclusive about. But yeah, how do you think they can navigate
So
with that?
in the sphere of, I'm talking India specific, because generally as a country kind of look not too different from each other. I think kids at that age are just, they make so many comments about other kids' appearances, and I think that affects people a lot more, especially when they're adopted. And when that whole thing starts of like, oh, like, why do you look different? I think if I could, I would just like to go and tell every child, like, don't talk about other kids' features regardless of whether they're adopted or not. Like, I think it starts right there, pointing out differences and just being clique like, especially on like the school corridors and the school playgrounds and things like that. And I don't mean it just in terms of like physical features, but like, as in like just like facial features. I mean it also in terms of like skin color and things like that. They don't realize the impact of what they're saying. I think if I could just tell every child, just be nice. If you found someone to play with, just play with them. It's not that deep. You're 9 years old. It's not that deep.
Even as a 15-year-old, I mean,
Agreed.
yeah, things are not that deep. What do you think people sometimes say or do that might unintentionally make adoptees uncomfortable?
I think one big thing, I go back to the features thing, is, oh, why do you look like this and not like that? Like, oh, neither your mom or your dad look like this. But obviously they don't. They're adopted. But I think it's just really insensitive. I do not like people commenting on people's features, and especially to an adopted child. You don't know their dynamics. You don't know what they're going through. Just don't talk about it. Do you think
Ask
there is
politely.
yeah? Do you think there is a more like sensitive way to approach the whole looking like, not looking like? Like, what do you think is
Looking like, not looking like, yeah, definitely. Actually, the thing that hit me the most at that point was everyone asking me, why do you look similar to them if you're adopted? And I was like, bro, I don't have control over this. Like, how? So, I mean, of course, it's all in the tone and the intention, right? The intention with the intention with which you yeah, that the intention with which you go really reflects and comes on to the person. So I mean, the same question if Nitya had asked me, she would do it much gentler, and it was really soft and it was easy. But there were instances when people came up to me and like, oh my god, you look the same, like that's not even possible, like how you're saying you're adopted, like what even, yeah, invalidating it completely. So what do you want to know the information for, right? And how you ask the person is also very important. Yeah.
Right.
If someone has an adopted friend, what's one thing or what's something they should definitely do or not do Nor do I think we've covered.
Yeah. What you should definitely do, they're your friend. Their lineage, their bloodline does not make a difference to your friendship. Unless they're being mean to you, you have no reason to be mean back to them. Regardless, if there is no reason for your friends, like, you know, when being an adopted child or a biological child, there's no need for any of that to do with your friendship. Like, there is no correlation. Now, if they have come and told you that they're adopted, all you need to do, I think that I did, was just listen. If you don't have any advice to give, there is no need. If they come to you for an advice specific thing, then talk about it. But apart from that, listen. Ask them if they need anything in terms of support. Talk. Just be respectful and be friends. That's all.
That's so cute. That's going to be the video thumbnail. I think what also helped me having her in the corner was that I didn't need anyone else to share things with. She was enough, and she helped me navigate like a lot of situations that I may have thought were uncomfortable. Like, I remember I had my first boyfriend in school, and I was like, oh my god, like, I have a boyfriend, he should know. And I didn't have the guts to say anything. So I remember going to Nitya and telling her, hey, listen, can you drop the bomb? And she did it for me. I mean, she's like, yeah, of course, yeah. Like, are you sure you want to tell her? I was like, yeah, maybe.
You just like put a flashback in my head.
Yeah.
So, like, as I said, it was so normal in my head. But obviously, I had enough of like emotional intelligence to tell that this is still a sensitive topic. It may not be as sensitive for me as it is for my peers. And this was a third party getting involved. And because I had explicit orders from the first party to share the information, that's the only case that I did. And then once Amisha turned around, I think 17, 18 is when like pretty much everybody around us, maybe even earlier than that.
Like, no, I don't think so. I mean, 17, 18, yes, because I was working at an adoption.
And that's when questions actually started coming my way. And
oh, really?
Yeah. This is when
I must have forgotten about this.
Other peers our age were curious, like, oh, why is she so passionate about adoption? And it wasn't a secret. Neither was it like something we didn't talk about. But I think that was the age where I was finding it a little bit hard to navigate, like, you know, because I knew a lot of information, but I was like, at what point do I stop sharing? Like, at what point am I crossing a boundary? And, like, how much of it is just education and how much of it is gossip? So, that is where I kind of, I guess, was confused. But then, I think...
yeah, I mean, at that point, I had already put out some videos and all of that. So, I think...
it just became a blanket statement, like, yeah, Amisha's adopted. She was adopted when she was young.
Yeah. So what's a common assumption people have about adoption that, you know, isn't true?
Specifically in like the Indian context, I feel like at least Western media is portrayed it as like, oh, foreigners come to India and like just pick up a kid and rehabilitate them or whatever. But that's not true, because most of my adopted friends have been adopted by Indian parents in the city that we grew up in.
So a lot of people assume that adoptees are different in certain ways. Like, people are told not to associate, or like it's a taboo in the head. What do you think about that?
I think that that's obviously a myth. There is nothing like that. But if I were to be a little more empathetic towards adoptees, I think because especially at the age of puberty, when you start like, you know, having all of these sudden emotional and hormonal changes, while for biological kids it is also the same changes, I think with an adopted child you have a lot more questions, you have a lot more confusion, and I think it is just in your best interest and your friendship's best interest to just be a little bit kinder, a little bit more accommodating. And you know, if you do feel like your friend's behavior is off, or you're just feeling like, you know, something is just going on with them, just bring it up, ask casually, ask nicely, but ask that you at least are aware. Then be completely oblivious and like just let this person suffer in silence. You're a friend for a reason.
If you were to correct one thing that people say about adoption, what would it be?
I don't think it's something people say, but it's the general attitude of just feeling like sympathetic for adopted children. Like, I get where it comes from, But I don't think there is a need for sympathy in this situation. Parents that adopt kids have resources and means to be able to adopt them, which is why they even go to that path.
Yeah, adoption is just another way of having a kid.
Exactly. If you were to like have your own children, means you have thought, like if you were to have your own biological children. I'm gonna
Have you
repeat.
thought?
If you were to have your own biological children, you would think about, do you have adequate resources? So I think it works the same way with even adopted kids. You have the adequate resources, and I think a little bit more, because I do believe that adoptive parents should also just factor in therapy/counseling as something when you are adopting a child, because I mean, this should be practiced for parents everywhere, but especially for adopted
Okay.
kids, because there are so many more questions and confusion in a child's head. That is one thing I would add on if I were to adopt a child.
Okay, what message do you have for an adoptee who is thinking of sharing with their friend and they're confused? What would you say to them?
Question number 1: do you see this friend as at least having the same emotional maturity as you? Step 2: if yes, then go for it. If not, I would just say hold on. I think that at the age that I was with Amisha, the kind of person I was then, I was sort of there emotionally, but I did still have a big reaction. I'm saying, like, I did go home and cry about it. But that the point is, as long as you think that they are emotionally mature enough as you are to handle the information, go for it. You should always be. I mean, I do think that you should eventually share this information if that's what you want.
Yeah, I think sharing does really help, at least in my experience. Find that person. It may take time, but it always helps to have that one person to talk about literally everything. Like, I don't know, we've spoken about even regarding adoption, some nonsensical thoughts. So it really doesn't matter when you have that one person and you can really just brain fart in front of them.
Oh, I have a very random, like, little one tidbit I want to share. So, at the age that we were at when Amisha told me, she was also a very big gymnast. So, I obviously knew she was adopted, but we didn't know anything about, like, her bio mom at that point, bio dad at that point. I had a theory.
Ah!
I had a theory that she came from a family of acrobats, and they kind of had to let her go because they had to make ends meet.
Ooh, see,
And this is how children's
that is so
imaginations work.
interesting. Yeah, you make up a story that makes
Just
sense to you.
yeah.
Yeah, this is the same girl who I thought touched the moon and came back. So she was just sitting in PN class and she was like, yeah, I went to NASA. I touched the moon and came back. And I was like, wait, don't you need like training
You're
for
so
this? I was like, whoa, you touched the moon and came back. What do you mean?
This girl has imagined me taking over the
Yeah,
spaceship.
I really have. I was like, damn, she's taken like this whole training session in the summer and gone up, touched the moon.
For context, it's a piece of the moon, like
It's
a
a piece.
moon rock that's in the NASA center, and you can touch it and take a picture with it, and that's it.
Yeah.
Artemis 2, shout out.
So kids cook up a lot of shit and it's fun sometimes.
Whatever keeps your boat afloat, honestly.
Thank you so much
And I
for
love you.
watching. I love you too.
And we love you.
We love you. This is so random. We have a train to catch, so we're gonna head. But thank you so much for watching. Stay safe. I don't know how to end this, but yeah.
And stay
you wanted to see you next time.